Welcome, boys and girls. Welcome to our technical mathematics. Today is Tuesday, 1st of September. As you can see on the screen, that I will be taking you through algebra for today's lesson. Now, before we can start our lesson for today, I just want to advise you that please go and get your examination guideline. It's very important document that one should have because that document, it outlines the important information that you should know pertaining all the topic that we are doing under technical mathematics. Please go and get that document. You can get it from DBE website. All right. Now, let me just take you to our topic for today, which is algebra. Now, under content, we can see that we are having algebra, and this topic, it contributes 50 plus or minus 3 marks for paper 1. So this one is for paper 1. Then the subtopic that you'll find under algebra that we'll be looking at for today's lesson, first is quadratic equations and inequalities, simultaneous equations, changing subject of the formula and solve binary numbers, nature of roots, exponents and sets, logs, and complex numbers. So all these subtopic, they will always be there in our question paper. Make sure that you revise them thoroughly. Make sure that you practice them thoroughly so that you prepare yourself for this coming trial exam and as well as the final exam. All right, because it shows that this topic it really very important, because you can see how much marks is this topic have. All right, now before waste of time, let me just go to our first subtopic, which is the quadratic equations. Now, before we can go to that, we just have to look at this concept that one should master in order to understand the algebra. Now, first, you must be able to solve quadratic equations. 1, by factorizing. 2, by using the quadratic formula, right? So you must test yourself. You must get a question where you have to factorize and then where you have to use the quadratic formula. Okay, you take a quadratic where you have the factors and the quadratic which does not have factors, and you're going to use what? A quadratic formula. And then quadratic inequality in one unknown, where you are going to interpret the solution graphically. Third, equations in two unknowns, one of which is linear and the other one is quadratic, meaning we are referring to simultaneous equation. All right, simultaneous equation. And then determine the nature of roots. The fifth one is manipulating the formula, make the variable subject of the formula. Add, subtract, multiply, and divide a simple set. Then you go to binary numbers. So in this one, binary numbers, you must be able to add the binary numbers or to subtract the binary numbers, or take binary numbers into decimal number, or decimal number to binary number. Then the second from the last, which is must be able to apply any law of logarithms to solve the real life problems. The last one, factorization, involving the use of remainder and the factor theorem. All right, so make sure that all these concepts you master them so that you can be able to understand algebra. All right, now let's proceed. Now you're going to be looking at what? Quadratic equation now. Let's see what we have under quadratic equation. Solve for x if uh, 1 x into x minus 3 close bracket equals to 0. Then we'll be solving x there. Number 2, we have what? 3x squared minus 2x minus 10 equals to 0, right? So we are having two quadratic equations, right? Now, when you look at the first one, when you look at this one, it says on the left-hand side, x into x minus 3, or close bracket, equals to 0. Now, for this one, already they have factorized it for us. We just have to solve for the value of x. Now, let's see how do you go about it. You can see that you're going to say this x, which is outside the bracket, is x equals to 0. So this is the first solution. And the second solution is going to be what? X equals to 3, right? X equals to 3. It was quite simple to solve this one. But now, in some cases, you'll find that when you have to solve this, and then on the right-hand side is not 0 there, maybe it's 1 or 2 or any number there. So if there is any number except 0, meaning we are not going to solve the way we did in this one. So what we're going to do, for instance, if we had 1 there instead of 0, then we're supposed to open our bracket first with this x outside so that we can bring back this value on the right hand side, right? But now the one that we're having now is very quite simple. We just have to solve the value of x without factorizing it. All right. Now, number 2, it says we should also solve for x. Now, next to this question, we have a message there that says correct to 2 decimal place. Now, my advice to you learners is this. Every time when you have to factorize a quadratic, and that quadratic, it has this instruction next to it, which says correct to 2 decimal places or correct to 3 decimal places, right? You must know that you are dealing with a quadratic that does not have what? Factors. You are dealing with a quadratic that does not have factors. Now, if it does not have factors, it doesn't mean we can't get the value of x, but what you should use is what? Is the quadratic formula. All right? Now, we are now using the quadratic formula because we can't get the factors. This quadratic equation does not have factors, but it does not mean we can get the values of x. So, but we are going to use the quadratic formula in order for us to get the x values. Now, then you are going to substitute your values there. Then you simplify it. Then remember it says plus or minus. So you're going to separate them. You're going to start with the positive one, and then we have the negative one on this side. Then you just press your calculator there. But because they said to correct to 2 decimal place, yeah, now you're having 2,119. That is the first answer. The second answer, we have negative 1,52, right? And then this question also is also very, very easy and simple. I don't think there is any challenge when it comes to this question. You just have to know the quadratic formula and then how to use the quadratic formula to get your x values there. Okay. Now let's proceed. We have another quadratic equation. Let's see under this what we are having. It says solve for x again. All right. Now the first one, we have the quadratic, which is x squared minus 5x minus 6 equals to 0. So we will be factorizing this one and the second one as well, and the third one. Now let's go on how do we go about this one, the first one. Now, as you can see on the screen, that the first one, we have factors there, and then we have x minus 6 and x plus 1. All right, we have vectors. Now let's solve for value of x. Our values of x is x equals to 6 or x equals to -1. It was quite simple. Make sure that you learn on how to get the vectors. All right, learn how to get the vectors. It's very important. Now this next question, which is x into x plus 2 equals to 5. Now, earlier on, remember I also spoke about this type of equation. If the right-hand side is not equals to 0, you can see this one is 5 there, right? So you cannot say x equals to 5 or x plus 2 equals to 5. Now, because on the right-hand side is not 0, then we'll have to do what? Open the bracket first, so that you can bring back this 5 on the left-hand side, right? You can bring this 5 to the left-hand side. Now let's do that and see what you're going to have. All right. Now we are going to multiply x times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x. Then this 5, we're going to take it to the left-hand side. So it's going to change the sign, which is -5 equals to 0. But still you can see that we are not having factors. All right. We are not having factors, but we are going to use what? A quadratic formula to determine the x values. Now the first one is this one, 1,45, because they said to us correct to 2 decimal place. The second one is -3,45. That is the second one. It's quite simple. Now the third question, where we have to solve for x. Now when it comes to this question, let me just remove this and this one and this one. All right, let's start afresh. Now we are now answering this question. Yeah, we are now answering this question. So every time when you answering this type of a question, for instance, we are looking for x in this case, and then x is inside the square root. You can see there is x there inside the square root, x plus 3. So every time when you are solving this question and you are solving for x, and that x is inside the square root, so every time you'll have to get rid of the square root, right? Now let's see how do you get rid of the square root. You're going to square both sides, right? All the time, you square both sides, so that you can you can remove, you can get rid of this square root. Okay. The next step, after removing the square root, you are now having x plus 3. This side you can see it say 1 plus x all squared. Then after multiplying those two brackets, then you are going to obtain what? X squared plus 2x plus 1, right? Then I'm going to transpose this to the right hand side. Then after doing that, then I will be having x squared plus x. Why plus x? Because remember this x, when you take it to the right hand side, is going to be negative x. Now we'll be having 2x minus x, which is positive x. The same applies with this positive 3. When you take it to the right hand side, then it's going to be negative 3. So then we'll be having 1 minus 3, which is minus 2, right? Now, after having this, then we're going to factorize it. Here are the factors. And then the last step, then we'll be having the 2x values, which is x equals to 2 or x equals to 1. Now, when you test your answers, when you take this negative 2 and then substitute where you see x here, you can see that you are not going to get what? The same answer that you got on the right hand side and the other one that you got on the left hand side, right? Hence, we say x should not be equals to negative 2. But when you take 1, substitute where you see x. For instance, we have 1 here. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 squared is 2. On the right hand side, 1 plus 1 is 2. So you can see that right hand side equals to left hand side when you substitute what? With 1. Now, every time when you are dealing with this question, specifically for this question, where you are going to get rid of this, the square root, please every time test your answers, because one of the answer there is not going to be the solution. All right. Now let's proceed. Inequality and simultaneous. We are now having inequality and simultaneous. Now, the first question under inequality is this one. 2x squared minus 7x plus 3 greater or equals to 0. Right? Now, every time when you have to answer this question, it will always having what? Factors. So you must be able to get the factors, especially for this question of what? Inequality. Now let's see the solution. Now you can see we are having the factors. The first bracket, it says 2x minus 1 and x minus 3 greater or equals to 0, right? Now first we are going to write what? Your critical points, right? These are your critical points. This is not a solution yet. This is critical points that is going to help you to determine or to solve this particular question, right? So you're going to use these critical points to a number line so that you can get a solution. Now, after determining your critical values, the first one, which is 1 over 2, and the second one is 3, you are going to take them to a number line. As you can see on the screen, the first one, we have what? Half, and then we have what? 3. You can see they are now on what? On the number line, right? So you're going to put them on the number line. After putting them on the number line, you always write positive. You can see there is positive here, positive, negative, positive. You always write that. Let me just remove this and this one. All right. So after you have plotted your critical point on the number line, please you write plus on this side, negative between the two critical points, and the last positive. Right? Now, why positive, negative, positive? Is because, for instance, let me show you something here. how you should solve the inequality. So when you say positive here, what I'm trying to say is that if you continue this in this direction, you take any value on this side, you take any value on this side, then you substitute where you see x, you'll always get positive value, right? You'll always get positive value. Now, why negative? I'm trying to say between this half and 3, you take any value between half and 3, then you substitute where you see x here and this here and this x here, then you'll always get what? A negative answer. So you're going to get a negative answer. And then on the right hand side, it's positive. Then if you take any value after 3, 4, 5, any value 6, then you substitute where you see x, then you're going to get what? The positive value, right? So it's always the case. So after you just put your number on the, your critical values on the number line, don't forget to write plus, minus, plus, always, right? Now, now we are on top there. We are on top of 1/2 and then 3 here. Now we'll have to decide. We are standing just on top of this half. So we have to decide whether we're going to what? We are going to the positive or we will be going to the negative now. So now in order to know whether we are moving to positive or negative, we are coming on this one. They are saying these two brackets, they are greater or equals to 0. So we all know that something which is greater 0, it must be positive, right? Anything which is greater 0, it must be positive. Now, if that is the case, then we are going to move to positive. Now, from here, you go to positive. Let me show you this. From here, we are going to positive. We are not going to go to negative because we can see that these two brackets says greater or equals to 0. So it must be positive. Now, if that is the case, then our answer is going to be x less than equals to half. Why this? Now look at there. Since we are going on the left hand side, then we'll be saying when you move from this 1/2 to the left hand side, are those numbers greater or less than 1/2? They are less than. So those numbers, they are being represented by x. So x is less than or equals to 1/2. Now here it says or x greater or equals to 3. Y greater or equals to 3. Now from 3 here, going on the right hand side there, going on the right hand side, are those numbers greater or less than +3? So they are greater than +3. Remember, you'll be having 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So hence we are saying x is greater or equals to 3. All right? So that's how you should answer the inequality question. How you should answer inequality question. Okay. Now let's proceed. Solve for x and y simultaneously. Now we are having simultaneous. Let's solve for x and y. The first equation you can see is 2y plus x equals to 3. The second equation, y equals to x squared minus x. Now the solution, you can see we have created the first equation, the second equation. Now we are going to substitute equation 2 into equation 1. You can see that from the equation 2, y is the subject of the formula there already. Now, if that is the case, then whenever we see y from equation 1, then we're going to substitute it with x squared minus x. Now let's see. Here it is. Remember, there was 2 here. Here's 2. Instead of y, we're not going to write y, but what? X squared minus x, which is this one. We are now substituting now. Plus x. You can see we are now having one variable, which is x. So we will be calculating the value of x. We'll be calculating the value of x in this one. Now let's go. Then we're going to open the bracket with that 2. Then we are having 2x squared minus 2x plus x minus 3 equals to 0. Okay. And then the standard form is 2x squared minus x minus 3 equals to 0. Then let's get the factors. Yes, we are having factors there. The first is 2x minus 3, and the second one is x plus 1. Then you can easily solve the value of what? Of x. The first value of x is 3/2, and the other one is -1. Now remember, we are solving for x and y. Now we are now having the values of x, then we will be looking for y values, right? Now, in order for you to get the y values, you are going to take one of these equations to determine the y value, right? But I always advise learners that you must take this one where y is the subject of the formula, right? Because you don't have to transpose, divide, all right? Just substitute and press your calculator. So in this one, you're going to, you can see x is there. X is 3/2. You just put x 3/2 squared minus 3/2. Then you're going to get your values of y, right? So you're going to substitute -1 to this equation 2. Where you see x, you just put -1. Then your value of y is going to be +2. All right. And now let's proceed. Now we are still under simultaneous. We are still solving for x and y. You can see we are having two equations, x plus y equals to 2, and x squared plus y squared equals to 34. We are having what? The two equations. Now the first equation and the second equation. Now you can see from these two equations, we don't have anything which is the subject of the formula. We don't have y, we don't have x as the subject of the formula. So if, remember earlier on, we had a question like that, where equation 2, y was already the subject of the formula, right? Now, in this one, we are going to be creating the third equation. So we will be creating the third equation. Now, for us to create the third equation, we'll be looking for equation that is easy for us to create the third equation. Then how do you go about it? You can see we obtained the third equation from equation 1. We did make y the subject, then we transpose this x on the, into to the right hand side. All right, we transpose this positive x to the right hand side. Hence, we are having y equals to 2 minus x. All right. Now, since we created the third equation from equation 1, we have created the third equation from equation 1. So when we have to substitute now, we are going to, it says substitute equation 3 into equation 2. We are going to substitute equation 3 to equation 2. So where you see y, then we're going to substitute with 2 minus x. Then you take equation 2, x squared Then this is, you remember it was y here. We are no longer going to write y, but we are going to write 2 minus x all squared equals to 34. And then you open your bracket, and then after that, you are having a standard equation. Here's standard form. Actually, you are having a standard form. Then we are going to factorize this if we have factors. And then let's see, yes, we do have factors. And then we have x minus 5, x plus 3, right? Then the values of x is 5 and the other one is negative 3. Now we have done determining the x values of the simultaneous. Now we'll be looking at what? Y values. Now remember, earlier on I also advised you that when you are looking for y values, yes, you can use one of these equations. You're going to get the same answer. But I always advise that use the third equation, because already y is the subject of the formula there. So there was no need for you to transpose anything or to divide with anything. Just substitute the value of x, then you press your calculator, and you will get what? Your y values. Now you can see 2 minus 5, there is negative 3, and then 2 plus 3 is 5. So this is the value of x, this is the value of y, right? Now let's proceed. Changing subject of the formula and solve. Now let's see what we have. Okay. It says the formula for calculating the distance traveled by an object at time t second is this. The first question says make u the subject of the formula. Now we're going to make this u the subject of the formula. Let's see how do you go about it. You write the formula. Then what you do here, you're going to transpose this one here to the left hand side there. It's going to change the sign. Then we are left with ut. Now because we want to make u the subject, then we're going to divide with t, and then this is the answer that we're having. So that is the answer that we are having for u. The next question, hence calculate the value of u if acceleration is acceleration equals to 3 meters per second squared, and the distance traveled after 4 seconds is 36 meters. Then you write the formula, you substitute, then you get the value of u, which is 3, right? The value of u, which is 3. Now let's proceed. Binary numbers, we are now getting to binary numbers. Let's see what we have under binary numbers. It says add the following binary numbers. We are having 101 010 plus 010101. Now let's add them. 0 plus 1 equals to 1. 1 plus 0 equals to 1. 0 plus 1 equals to 1. 1 plus 0 equals to 1. 0 plus 1 equals to 1. 1 plus 0 equals to 1. So this is the answer that we are having. With the answer that we are having is 1, 1, 1. How many ones? We have 6, right? 0 plus 1 equals to 1. 1 plus 0 equals to 1, 0 plus 1 equals to 1, 1 plus 0 equals to 1, and then 0 plus 1 equals to 1, and the 1 plus 0 equals to 1. So that is the answer when after adding the two binary numbers. Okay. Now the other question says write down or write 46 as binary number. Remember, this 46 is the decimal number. We have to convert it to binary number. Okay. Now, how do we do that? All right. Now, in order for you to convert decimal number to binary number, you are going to use this method here. Let me just explain on how do you go about it. Now, remember, you're going to say we are having 46 here and 2. So you'll always continue with this 2. Then you're going to say 46 divided by 2 is how much? Is 23. So there is no remainder there. If there's no remainder, then you write what? You write 0. Okay? Then you continue. 23 divided by 2 is 11,5. Then you write 11 here, then 2. Remember, there is a remainder, then you write 1. If there is a remainder, you write 1. Then after that, you say 11 divided by 2 is 5,5. Then you write your 5 here, 2. There is a remainder, you write 1 if there is a remainder. Then you say 5 divided by 2 is 2,5. You write 2 here. Then you continue this 2. Then there is a remainder. Remember, it is a remainder, so you write 1. Then you say 2 divided by 2 is 1. You still continue with your 2. There is no remainder, hence is 0 there, right? Then 1 divided by 2. 1 divided by 2 is 0,5. Then you continue with this 2. There is a remainder, you write 1, right? Now, when you write this binary number, you're going to start from the bottom to the top there. You're going to start writing it from the bottom to the top. So you'll be having 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0. When you have to write it down, you write it 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0. So this is the answer that we are having. Meaning the decimal number of 46 is equivalent to binary number of 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0. So that's how you should convert a decimal number to binary number. Okay. Simplification. Under simplification, let's see what we're having. Simplify the following without the use of calculator. Number 1, we're going to simplify number 1, number 2, number 3. Now let's go and see how do we simplify the first one. Let's see the first one. Now we can see on the numerator there, how many terms we have? 2 terms, right? Now since we're having 2 terms, we have a common factor there. Then we're going to take a common factor of 3 to the power 2y. You can see this is the common factor. So after taking common factor here for the first term, then we'll be left with 6. Second term will be left with 3, right? Then you can see that these two this one is going to cancel this one. Then we'll be left with what? 6 minus 3. Then our answer is what? Is equals to 3. Okay. Now number 2, we have 70 square root of 75 minus into square root of 64 minus 16. So we have to factorize this one without the use of calculator. The question is very clear without the use of calculator. We don't want you to just take this as it is and press it on the calculator and get the answer. Yes, you're going to get the correct answer. But remember, the fact that you use the calculator, we are not even going to give you a mark for that answer, because the question, it was very clear to us that you should not use a calculator. So we want to see all the steps before you reach to your final answer. Now let's see how do you go about it. Now, for the square root of 75, you know is 25 times 3. So you take a perfect square number and non-perfect square number. And then when you multiply them together, you must give you what? 75. And then in this case, we said 64 minus 16. We said 64 minus 16. You have 48. When you know 48 is 16 times 3. 16 times 3, it gives us 48, right? The next step, what you do, you know square root of 25 is 5, of 3 is square root of 3. So the first one will be having 5 square root of 3. Square root of 16 is 4, square root of 3 is square root of 3. So we have 4 square root of 3. Then when you minus this, you're going to have what? You're going to have square root of 3. So that is the answer. And the next one, we're having log. Then how do you go about it? Now we're going to do what? This, it say log 16 base 4, and the other one is log 27 base 3. So for 16, you are going to write it in terms of what? Exponent there as a base, 4 as a base, and then exponent is 2. So this is going to be our answer for 16. And as for 27, is going to be 3 to power 3, right? Then we are going to apply this law. If the exponent is 2, we are going to take this 2 to this side. You can see here is 2 log 4 base 4. The same applies with this 3 here, exponent 3. We're going to take it on the left hand side there. Now we are having 3 log 3 base 3. Then our answer is going to be 6. Why 6? We all know that log 4 base 4 equals to 1. Then this is 1. And then log 3 base 3 equals to 1. Right? Then you'll be left with 2 multiplied by 3. So your answer is going to be what? Your answer is going to be 6. Okay? So please, you must also revise the law of exponent so that you must be able to answer these kind of questions. Now let's proceed. We are still under simplification. Let's see what we are having there. Now, it says simplify the following without the use of calculator. Simplify without the use of calculator. The first one, 3 to power n times 3 to power 4 to a single base term. We have to write into a single base term. Now let's see how do we write it. All right, you can see that since we are having the same base and you are multiplying, then we are going to add the exponent, right? Hence we are having the answer as 3 to the power n plus 4. So this is the answer that is correct. Number 2. Now let's study number 2 and see what's going to happen. what is going to happen after we move to the second step. Now look at here. We previously having what? 7 multiplied by 3 to the power n plus 2. Then what we did here, we splitted that. We splitted 3 to the power n plus 2. Then it gives us this one, which is 3 to power n multiplied by 3 to power 2. Then we all know from the law of exponent, if we have the same base, you multiply, you add the exponent. You understand? So this is the same as this one. Okay? And then on the numerator, actually on the denominator there, let us study on the denominator. How many terms? We have 2 terms. Then we have something in common there, which is 3 to power n. You can see from first term, we have 3 to power n. Second term, we have 3 to power n. So we are going to take it as a common factor there. As you can see in this one, we have taken this 3 to power n as common factor. Then you can see this 3 to power n is going to cancel this 3 to power n on the numerator there. Then our answer is going to be this. So after canceling this one and this one, then you're going to say 7 multiplied by what? By 9, because this is going to give you 9. So it's 63. Then 81 minus 6 is 75. Then when you press your calculator and simplify it, it says 21 over 25. Okay. The next one, without the use of calculator. Please avoid to press this as it is on your calculator, because you're not going to get anything. Solve it, but without the use of calculator. For instance, we have the square root of 32. Then we want 2 numbers, perfect square and non-perfect square. That will give you what? 32 when you multiply them together. Let's see which number is that. You can see we're having what? 16 times 2. 16 is a perfect square. 2 is non-perfect square. 72 is 36 times 2. 18 is 9 times 2. Next step, 16. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 2 is still square root of 2. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 2 is still square root of 2. Square root of 9 is 3. And then square root of 2 is still square root of 2. Then it's simple. We are having square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 2. Then you just take your calculator and say 4 minus 6 plus 3. Then you give you 1. Then the answer is going to be what? Square root of 2. All right. Now let's proceed to number 4. We are having a log there. We are having a log. Now the next step, what you have to do, then we have taken a -1 as a common factor there. Then inside the bracket, we are having log 243 base 3 minus log 1 base 3. Now, if the base are the same, then we are going to apply that law. If it's negative, then you're going to divide this 243 divided by 1. So 243 divided by 1 is the same as 243. Hence, you can see we're having 243 only here, right? Then you're going to write this as exponent form. Then remember 243 is 3 to power 5. Then this 5, then you take it this side. We have taken it to this side. Then now we are left with what? Log 3 base 3. So we know that log 3 base 3 equals to 1. So our answer hence is what? Is equals to -5. Our answer is equals to -5. So please go and revise the law of logarithms, so that you must be able to answer any question or simplify any question based on logs. Solve using logarithm. Now let's check solve using logarithms. First, we are going to solve for the value of x. Now let's see how do you go about it. To solve for x, you should take out a log form to exponential form, meaning this is in the log form. You have to take it to exponential form in order for you to solve the value of x. Right? You can see you have taken to exponential form. Now, if a log does not have a base there, you can see you don't have a base there. You can't see a base. Then if that is the case, then you must know that the base is 10, right? Because you don't write base 10. So every time when you see there's nothing there, you must know it's 10. Hence, when you take it to exponential form, you see there is 10 here, it's 10 to the power 6. Therefore, you're going to open a bracket, and then you're going to have this x squared minus 4 plus 4 minus how much? I think it's 1 million there equals to 0. Then you minus by 4. And then after that, you're going to do what? You're having factors there. X minus 1002 x plus 998 bracket equals to 0. Then the values of x is 1002 or negative 998. Now, but only one is the solution, which is 1002 is the solution. Because if you take it here, if you substitute this 1002 here, where you see x, then the left hand side is going to be equals to the right hand side. Meaning we're going to obtain 6 when you substitute with this 1002 here, where you see x. But this one, when you substitute it here, it's not going to give us the solution. Hence, we're saying x must not be equals to negative 998. Right? Now let's proceed. We have another one. Now we can see on the left hand side we are having how many terms? 2 terms, and we're adding, and then we have the same base. So once we have the same base, we apply a law that says if it's positive, then we're going to multiply this bracket together with this 2. You can see what I did here. You multiply them together, and you write only one log there, equals to 2. Thereafter, you're going to take it to exponential form. You're going to take it to exponential form, then you open the brackets. Then after opening the bracket there, we're having this, and the value of x now is equals to 5 over 6. So that's how it's supposed to be. Please, when you are solving for x, and then it is given in terms of log form, take it to exponential form so that you can be able to calculate the value of x. All right. Complex numbers. Let's see under complex numbers. If z1 equals to 3 minus 4i, z2 equals to minus 1 plus 7i, determine this. Right? Now let's determine it. How do we determine the solution? Now it says note I squared equals to negative 1. Let us bear that in mind. I squared equals to negative 1. Okay. Now we have to this one and plus this one. This is what we are having. This is what we are having here. Let's see. All right. Actually, there was a mistake here. It's supposed to be multiplication. Let me just fix it. It's supposed to be multiplication here, not addition. It's supposed to be multiplication here, not addition. You can see from the solution that it's multiplication, right? So it's not addition, it's multiplication. So Z1 multiplied by Z2. So this is how you should write it. Okay. Then we are going to multiply these two brackets. Then we are going to have negative 3 plus 21i plus 4i minus 28i. The third step, then you're going to add the days because these are like terms. 21i plus 4i give us what? 25i. Like now from the note we said that I squared equals to what? Equals to -1. You can see we are now having what? -1. Then is 3 is minus 3 plus 28. It gives us what? It gives us 25 plus 25i. So the correct answer is this one. Okay. So this is our answer. All right. So that's how you should multiply the complex numbers. Complex numbers again. Given z equals to -2 plus I. 1. Calculate the modulus of z. 2. Determine the argument of z. 3. Express z in terms of polar form. Now, if it is in this form, it is what? It is in a rectangular form. So we will now have to convert it to polar form. So please make sure that you do understand if they ask you to convert it to rectangular form or from the rectangular to polar form. You must be able to do that. Okay. Now let's see the solution. How do we calculate the modulus? This is the formula for modulus. Remember, this is A here. This is A. And then this is B. The coefficient of I is B, right? And you can see it's 1 there. Then you're going to substitute there -2 and 1. Then the modulus is equal to 5. Number 2, determine the argument of z, the theta there. Then you can see our theta argument is 180 minus this, which is 153,43 degrees, right? Now, why 180 minus? Is because when you draw your terminal arm, let me show you. When you draw your terminal arm, for instance, A is -2. Remember, A represent the x values. So -2 it is on this side, -2, and B represent the y values is 1. So the arm is going to be on this quadrant, right? It's going to be, the terminal arm is going to be on the second quadrant. So on the second quadrant, we know is 180 minus, right? It's 180 minus. Hence, we are having 180 minus this, okay? And then the last question, express z in the polar form. Now, how do we do that? Then you write the standard equation for polar form. So R is what? Is your modulus, and is square root of 5. 6 theta is how much? Theta we've just obtained it is 153,43 degrees. So this is what? It is in a polar form. Solve using the complex numbers. Now the solution, how do you go about it? You are having the left-hand side, the right-hand side. Now, because we're having 2 brackets there, we're going to open the brackets, we multiply them together. Now, remember I said if it's I squared, then I squared is going to be equals to -1, right? Then you're going to add the like terms. You can see that 9i minus 21i is give us -12i, right? 27 is going to be 27, +7. It's going to be +7 here because -7 multiplied by -1, it gives us +7. So that it is going to give us what? 34, right? So you're going to take this one which is x equals to 34. You can see x equals to 34. Let me remove this. Let me erase this one. All right. You can see x equals to 34 because they do not have I. So we are going to equate them together. Then I'm going to equate this one together. yi minus 12i, which is this one. Then when you divide both sides with I, it's going to give us y equals to negative 12. So that's how you should answer this question. All right. You should multiply the brackets first. Then don't forget to change your I squared. Don't forget to change your I squared to become negative 1. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for being with me for this lesson. And then you can take this activity and try to answer all these questions so that you check if you do understand them or you have learned since you have started this lesson. So please just do this activity. The message for today, it says never give up. Today it's harder, tomorrow will be worse, but today after tomorrow will be sunshine. I thank you.